MMAfighting.com, and we're in Stockholm, Sweden, and Alexander Gustafsson has just placed his gloves in the middle of the octagon and has announced his retirement from the sport. This wasn't such a big shock for you, Phil. You talked about this on the preview show on Friday, but even as it happened, it did feel like the whole arena just shut down, complete silence when this loss was announced to the arena, or when it became apparent to the arena. What do you think of this? Like, I mean, are you shocked at all?
In a way, not really. I mean, 32 years old, 2 children, house, car, family, all that kind of thing. An awful lot of money made. One of the best paid light heavyweights in the UFC who's never won the title. So I kind of got that feeling all along that this is so difficult. And in the 4th round there, we watched what Alex was trying to do. He was trying to tire Smith out, and he was trying to sort of make Smith burn himself out and then go win the fight in round 3, 4 or 5. And it just didn't happen. And he went for a takedown. And as soon as he went for that takedown, which went wrong, you could just see him go, I never should have did that. And that's the kind of thing that it's just fatigue. It's just tiredness. It's just going through thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds. And that's why he feels that he can't do it anymore. And it's so tough to be in there in front of your home crowd, a sold out crowd here in the Globe Arena. This is the second time this has happened. He lost by knockout to Anthony Johnson. And now he has to tap to a very good black belt in Anthony Smith, that has to be said. There's no shame in it, but there's only so many times you can go back to the well, and tonight was the last time for Alexander Gustafsson.
You know, he came out to the press conference here. He was absolutely class, as usual. He fielded a lot of questions. In particular, the media were asking about John Jones, different fighters, quite surprised by this announcement. I mean, do you really believe in your heart of hearts that this is the very last we've seen of Alex? We won't see him back in the octagon ever again?
This is mixed martial arts. You never say never in this game, right? An MMA retirement, the sun could come up.
It's actually a guarantee that he's going to be back.
Like next week, the Copenhagen card in September is looking good. No, but all joking aside, I do really think that tonight, certain athletes and certain people, if you look at Alexander Gustafsson as a man, he's not the kind of guy who's going out there and talking trash and saying stuff to sell fights, right? He's a very, very straight up, meat and potatoes, down the line kind of guy. And if he says he's done, it's going to take the biggest, fattest check that Dana White has ever written for a Scandinavian to get him back in there, because we have to think, what's the possibilities there? Again, we go back to, if John Jones is out of the picture and there's a belt on the line, that might tempt him back. Heavyweight has never really tempted him. He seems to be very much at home in light heavyweight.
He's quite slight as well. That just never made sense to me, to move to heavyweight.
Yeah, I never actually saw that as being a possibility. And then, it's like, what are you going to do there as well? You're putting yourself through an awful lot of punishment, right? This is a guy who's had injuries. He got another nasty little knock on his shin there this evening, but that's nothing compared to what you get. No fighter ever goes into the octagon 100% healthy, and if you've been doing that for as long as he's been doing that, it's going to take its toll on the body and indeed the mind. And I think we were saying last night how tough it is physically, mentally and emotionally for fighters, and it was a very emotional night, capped off by him leaving his gloves in the middle of the octagon like that. And to put it another way, what better way is there to finish it, right? Okay, I know he lost here to Anthony Smith, but the people here gave him that warmth, that love that he really, really deserves from the mixed martial arts community, the combat sports community here. So I can't see what would be a better ending than this. Las Vegas somewhere, Hamburg somewhere. That's not it. Do it now and walk away with dignity.
It still feels as though, if you could feel the arena when that happened, it was dead silence. You could have heard a penny drop, and then the announcement came through, and you could even see the media in this room reacting like, oh my God, is this happening? How significant is this for Scandinavian mixed martial arts?
If you had asked me before this card tonight, I would have said this is a little bit of a disaster, right? Because they still need him to pull the boat forward. But tonight there were so many, not exactly breakout performances, but there were so many solid performances from Scandinavian mixed martial artists. I actually think that the future is very, very bright. And again, if we look at the amateur scene, which maybe not everybody does, like the Swedes and the Finns and the Norwegians are doing really, really well on that front as well. So I do think that there's a crop coming up there. The absolute worst thing to happen would be to lose Alexander Gustafsson completely, right? For him to buy a farm in the north of Sweden where there is nothing but darkness and the odd mosquito, right? That's the only thing that we don't want to happen. We need him involved. We need him at the All-Stars gym. We need him giving the benefit of his UFC experience, all those title fights and all those near misses, and coming as close as he possibly could to the belt without ever having to put it around his waist. And as long as Swedish mixed martial arts and Nordic mixed martial arts has that, I think they'll survive without him.
Can you fathom a way in which a fighter could escalate to that level again, to represent Scandinavia like that, like Alex has?
I think it's one of those things where we'd never say never. You know, I mean, we always think about, you know, if you go back to the fighters of old, you know, Chael Sonnen, you know, will anybody be as good as whoever, Wanderlei Silva, you know, that kind of thing. And yeah, that's the way it works in sports. It's the same thing as soccer and basketball and American football. That the people who come along, they're better. They have better sports science, they have better tactics, they have better nutrition, they have better things going on there. So, you know, I do think that there are bigger and better athletes who are going to come along, but you will never have an original again. You'll never have somebody like Alexander Gustafsson, who he broke the mold. He made Scandinavian mixed martial arts what it is. He put it on the map. He put European mixed martial arts on the map even before Conor came along. And for that, everybody, not just Swedes, but everybody has to be grateful to him for that.
The other big story of the night, I call this one, if I'm going to give you Gustafsson, all right, I'm going to take Rakic, because, my God, that man came out and made a massive statement. I mean, you know, we all hope that Jimmy is okay. It was quite a spectacular knockout, let's be honest, but that guy is now an emerging force in this division, isn't he?
I think he's the guy that everybody's going to wake up tomorrow morning and go, let me go to his wiki page and see what's happening here. Yes. Because that was a most incredible knockout. I've seen an awful lot of knockouts in my time in a wide variety of sports, and that had me even doing this face all over the place, you know. And not only that, but it was actually the crushing part for me is I've talked to Jimmy Manoa many times, and to hear his head hitting the deck like that. So first you heard the foot hitting his jaw, and then you heard his head hitting the deck, and then he didn't move for a long time. So it was quite difficult for many of us sitting there in press row, because he actually fell back towards us on press row if you watch the video, and then he didn't move for a long time. And I thought, not only did Rakic knock him out there, but like, you know, I'm not going to say he ended his career. That's Jimmy Manoa's decision to make. But you know, you have to wonder how Jimmy can come back from something like that. And again, a great guy, and we wish him all the best in his recovery there. But you know, and in doing so, all of a sudden he just rolled a hand grenade into the light heavyweight division, because tonight, later on the same night, Alexander Gustafsson retires, and you know what, there's a bunch of new kids on the block already who are jockeying for position. You know, we still have the old hands in there as well. You know, we still have Ilir Latifi's going to come back. You still have Volkan Osterman is going to come back. So it's amazing how, like, a division that's relatively shallow, and yet one guy pops up and soon everything changes. And he spoke really well.
Yeah, I was just about to say that to you. I really enjoyed the fact that he said, like, I'm in no rush here. So many times we see guys getting those big statement wins and they're calling out everyone and their mother. This fella is, seems to have a very level head, and I think that's going to be really work for him as he progresses through his career. He's just 27 years of age.
Yeah, and if you want to compare him to Anthony Smith, I think Anthony Smith realised after he fought John Jones that he shouldn't have fought John Jones. Yes. Not because he's not a great fighter, but because he's not a complete fighter. When you're going in there against John Jones, you have to be the absolute best version of yourself just to survive in there for a few rounds. And Rakic knows that. And he's going, oh, hold on a second, guys. I need to work on my game. Like, he was even saying that there are flaws here that I can work on and that I want to work on, and that, you know, I want to improve before I go and test myself against probably the greatest who's ever done it in the division. And that displays remarkable maturity, because an awful lot of guys who win, or girls who win 2 fights in the UFC, are going, get me that belt. You know, it's like, it's not in any way realistic.
Calm down. Come on, take it easy.
Slow down. Go back to, you know, go back to the Contender Series, whatever. But it's nice to see the fact that people are planning long term, that they're not in this for, like, you know, I'm going to have a contract that's going to be 3 fights in 18 months and then I'm going to work in a garage for the rest of my life, right? That's not what we want to see. We want to see people who can be built over time. And I love to see, like, in the women's bantamweight division, you know, when the belt is changing hands a little bit more often, it makes things more interesting. Good. We love a dominant champion, but at the same time, we like to see new people coming up, new narratives happening, new styles coming. I think Anthony Smith is going to be one of the more interesting ones, because when Alexander Gustafsson lost the belt, like, I think it was 3 times he fought for it and 3 times he didn't win it, and all those times he went and he worked on different things, but he still never got over the hump. Yes. And I think Anthony looks at that, and especially in the wake of what's happened tonight, and he's gone, I don't want to be that guy. Yeah. So he's going to go back and he's going to sort of, you know, fill the holes in his game, and he's going to want to get back to the top of the mountain again.
I thought, you know, and we want to end this up by talking about Anthony Smith. He is the man that should be getting all the headlines. I mean, what an amazing performance. You know, even for the first 2 rounds, I think there was a big pop in the crowd in the third. It seemed that Gustafsson won that round with the takedown. But what a performance, you know, from Smith. He was unbelievable. And then again, in the press conference, you can listen to this guy talking all day, couldn't you? He's so candid, and he really wears his heart in his sleeve, and he's a breath of fresh air as far as I'm concerned.
He's remarkably classy, you know, and I'm not saying that other people aren't classy, but he just...
No, you are.
Yeah, well, some people aren't classy, we all know that. But the thing to see him come out there and to give kudos to, you know, to say on Alexander Gustafsson's home territory, I'm sorry for spoiling your party, guys, that kind of thing, and then to see the guy retire. But he comes out there and he talks so openly about what's going on, and so openly about his own not failures or failings, but you know, the things that he needs to work on, and that's absolutely brilliant to see. It displays a level of maturity. It's not just this is bullshit, because I think a lot of people don't understand exactly how high level this is, right? What he displayed in there tonight was fight IQ, right? The fight changed in so many different ways. You know, you have one of the most slippery customers trying to land a glove on Alexander Gustafsson. It's extremely difficult because his head movement and his footwork is so good, and he came so close, and the way that the two of them battled just to control the range. Alexander wanted to fight long and Smith wanted to fight short, and just to watch that was fascinating. But then to see his skill once he got to the back, I kept asking him, okay, what makes it inevitable when you get in somebody's back that you're going to choke?
It's very underrated jiu-jitsu, like, and I'm glad he talked about that today at the presser, because it's not something that people ever talk about when they're talking about Anthony.
No, and I was very surprised then that Gustafsson in turn went to take him down, you know, because I don't know, now Gustafsson is not the kind of guy who's going to, you know,
shy away from any area.
Yeah, but but he's also not going to underestimate you. You know, he does his homework, and he obviously went, okay, he had the success with the takedown in the third, and he got him stuck a little bit against the cage so Smith couldn't get out of there. But in the fourth, when the takedown went wrong, that was when Smith was able to show the full variety of his skills. But it's the intelligence to be able to do the right thing in the right situation, right? Because in the split second that they were falling, that's when he has to make his move, or he winds up on the bottom, right? And he was there the whole time. Gustafsson never really landed. He landed one straight right, I think, down the pipe right on him, and that was pretty much it. He didn't really land anything else clean and massive, and that displays, to do that over 4 rounds against such a complete fighter as Gustafsson, I think was tremendous. And I think, you know, to sum up the night as a whole, I think it was a great night for clever fighters. I think it was a great night for Scandinavian fighters in general. I think it was a great night for fight fans, despite the fact that most of them missed the Champions League final. I think it was a great night for European MMA, and I'm looking forward to following so many of these people, Bea Malechki, Americani, like so many of these things that are going to
Lena Landsberg, huge win over Tonya Evinger as well.
Absolutely brilliant. And again, Tonya Evinger, like, you know, she's a heroine of mine now. I absolutely love that woman. There is not an ounce of quit in her, and I really hope that she stays in the game as well. But a brilliant night for fight fans, a brilliant night for European MMA. You know, an emotional end for Alexander Gustafsson. But you know, he's written one book in Swedish already, which unfortunately is not in English. But there's still a few chapters left to write.
Absolutely. Phil, thank you so much again. It's absolute gentleman. You've been fantastic in both the preview and the post-fight show. We're sorry about all the people who were walking by who were very rude, who could clearly see what was happening. But then again, you are fantastic as always, my friend.
We'll see if they do that in UFC Copenhagen in September, because we might do this again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much,
Cheers,
man.
brother.
All the best.